Hey there. Back in January, I built up my new bike, which is the Stevens Ventoux that you see behind me. It's a new model in the Stevens range, and it's designed to be a little bit more comfortable, which is great, especially for older guys like myself. I've been riding this bike for a few months, and I'd like to give you my impressions so far. First off, the Ventoux is almost at the top of the Stevens range. The only bike that's higher is the SLC Carbon, and that's a full-bore racing machine. The frame shares the same geometry as the SLC, with one major exception. The top tube rises towards the head tube, which lets you set the bars a couple of centimeters higher without using a ton of spacers. But there are some more subtle differences. The rear stays of the Ventoux are noticeably thinner than on the SLC, which makes them more flexible and helps absorb road vibrations. When you first ride this bike, it feels like you have a slow leak in your back tire. That's how soft it can feel. This compliance does mean there's a little bit more lateral flex too. You can actually see it in this shot. But the frame acts like a giant spring and returns the energy. And when you're climbing a steep hill or sprinting, you can really feel the bike spring forward. To help compensate, Stevens gave the bike a big asymmetrical down tube and a tapered head tube, which stiffened the main triangle up nicely. And the frame is married to a standard full carbon fork with aerodynamic blades. The other main difference is more aesthetic. The bike has fully internal cable routing, including to the rear derailleur. Despite this, at just 965 grams for the frame, it's only about 100 grams heavier than the SLC. So what do I like about the Ventoux so far? Well, I love the geometry. It's got the same angles as the SLC, so it handles beautifully, and I was able to adapt to it really easily. I was able to set up my exact same position as on my previous bike. It's also super light, so climbing is almost a pleasure. I also really love the comfortable rear triangle. You really notice how much it absorbs road vibrations. And to make it even better, I added low-profile rims, and I put on these Continental Grand Prix 25C 4 Seasons tires. And this is great for exploring dirt roads in the Ottawa area. And the bike looks fantastic. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the internal cable routing. It makes for a much more complicated setup, and to get at the cables to lube them, it's a bit of an operation. You're best off bringing the bike into a bike shop. I'll follow up on how the Ventoux is doing in another couple months. Meanwhile, keep riding. Hope to see you out there. And for the Cyclery, I'm Chris Westwood.